How's it going?
Okay, hello.
Hey everyone.
Hello.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. Hi
Hiya.
Brian.
Hello, how you doing, Liam? How you getting on?
Good Brian, good Brian. Haven't met you in a while. Last time I think I met you was
That's right. That's
this
right.
time
Liam.
last year down in Nimbus and
Oh, yeah.
Cork. God, it seems like years ago at this stage.
It does indeed, doesn't it?
God.
Well, time is flying. Thanks be to God. We could do it, seeing the back of these couple of years now as quick as possible.
Yeah, couldn't have scripted what happened in the last 12 months since we met anyway.
No, crazy stuff altogether.
Crazy,
And
crazy.
it's we were just talking during the day there that we look back in this era as being a time maybe when the family got together a bit more. Actually, I have to say.
Yeah, but do we want that?
Well, I tell you, yeah, that's a good point, all right, Grania. Oh no, I tell you, some families have had it tough, and I must say, I have a father there now, and he fell in the yard on the farm. I'd say the day after the pandemic was announced, and he's been in and out of hospital since, and it's just been a nightmare.
Yeah.
So it's tough. It's tough out there for people, that's for sure. But look, I tell you guys, thanks very much for coming on. And I know Frank Brennan's just off the phone. He's on, and Liam, obviously. Grania, you're there. How's everything at Skibbereen, Grania?
I'm actually in Clon. I haven't been to Skibs since before Christmas. So
No way. I tell you, I was down there the first year you had the conference. Do you remember the agricultural team IoT conference that you had?
Yeah.
And I just found it really great. And it was a real first agri conference I went to where there's some serious operators on the ground down there in West Cork.
Oh, it's unbelievable. And we held it online this year, you know, and we're a bit nerve-wracking, I'll be honest.
Of course,
big names on it, and luckily we got some tech support with that particular one. We didn't do that. That wasn't a DIY job, but we had a great turnout for it. And
that's great.
Yeah, like the level of innovation that's going on in the agri space is enormous.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I remember we had the look of crossing paths with Derry O'Donovan. He's a local farmer down there. You might know him. And he came in and did a couple of vouchers. Yeah, I think kind of about 3 or 4 farms now at this stage. There's a load of them down there. There's Kingston's down there. There's a whole lot going on, isn't there?
Yeah,
There's cows.
They all have an entrepreneurial edge to them.
Oh, they sure do. Sure do. But anyway, for this particular session, anyway, we're just going to do a round table about, let's say, what you're all been up to, really, and let's say any diamonds in the sand concerning your centres that you want to let the general public about. I might actually drop in a couple of topical questions about support for entrepreneurs, engagement with the technology gateways and the third level industry. Are we doing that well enough? Any pitfalls in the current climate, that kind of obvious stuff. It'll just be a general chat anyway, nothing too technical. We're certainly not going to kill people with PowerPoint presentation, that's for sure. And hello to the Porter Shed as well, by the way.
Yeah, how's it going? Sorry.
It's Mary, isn't it? Mary,
it is, yeah.
How are you getting on?
I need to master my Zoom, but yes, Mary, it is.
That's
all
great,
good.
Mary, you're based in Galway. I have to do a bit of reading up now on the Porterhead. Like, for some strange reason, we haven't gone up to Galway now in a couple of years on projects, really. And we probably need to change that now. We need to, I think GMIT and Limerick IT and UL and stuff, they really suck up all that collaboration corridor in the West and Athlone IT. We kind of hand off an awful lot to Athlone IT, actually.
Yeah.
So
we'll definitely come up. We have a wide open door.
Yeah,
everybody's welcome. You never know.
We'll have to do the rounds when things calm down a bit, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But look, I think everyone can hear our conversation, ironically enough, so I think we better start this session. So I'm just going to say a big welcome to everybody for joining this particular session. So we've got some real stars in the entrepreneurial market at the moment on this call. So some serious, let's say, facilitators for people with ideas in this country. So we've got Mary Rogers, CEO of the Porter Shed, Frank Brennan, General Manager of Republic of Work, Liam Cronin, CEO of RDI Hub, Grania O'Keefe, CEO of the Ludgate, and Patrick Welch, CEO of Doug Patch Labs. And then there's myself, of course, and I'm representing Nimbus Research Centre today. I won't have much to say now, to be honest, because I say by the time we get from Mary all the way down to Patrick, I think there'll be an awful lot of scope for discussion and further discussion. We seriously encourage engagement from the attendees. So if you have a question to ask, pop it into the chat and I'll bring it to the attention of the forum. No problem at all. So I think without wasting too much time then, I'd like to ask Mary Rogers then, simply because Mary, you're top of the list, I'm afraid. And about the Porter Shed, when did it all start? Who's involved? How many companies are in there at the moment? And let's say what trends do you see in its growth that will actually impact its growth, or not impact, but positively assist its growth over the coming years?
Okay, well, thanks so much for having us. We love to share our story, so it's great to be here today. The Porter Shed will be 5 years old in May. We opened in May 2016, and we're set up as a co-working space for tech startups. And key to everything we do is creating high-value, sustainable jobs. So we're all about creating jobs in the region. And we started off with 24 members, and we grew to 130. We raised over 35 million. Our companies did. And we held over 1,000 events, and we had 10,000 people come through the doors. We've had an amazing 5 years, and then COVID hit. But that's okay, because we just moved everything online. So our virtual meetups and our events have gone online, and the community has stayed with us. So we would always say it's always more than a desk. It's the Porter Shed community. So it's about the serendipity of the coffee machine. It's about the meetups. It's about the connections and the board. So the Porter Shed was founded by 6 entrepreneurs, or 6 business people really, who came together and said, we can either wait for this to happen or we can do it. And they found this unloved building and flipped it for 500,000 and opened it on minimal, like it was down to the wire every month on paying bills. But it grew and grew, and it's gone from strength to strength. And we'll open our second building in 2021 at some point. And we'll be going from space for 130 to space to 400. And that's all thanks to Enterprise Ireland and the Regional Economic Development Fund. So everybody working together, signposting companies to the right support, whether it's the Leo or Enterprise Ireland or whatever is going on around the country now. And that's why this Tech Hub network is so important. Everyone's collaborating and leveling up the ecosystem and making sure everyone flows with the tide. It's all good.
Mary, you like, what's your background? Like, how did you end up in this position? And like, you're a pretty driven individual, right? So are you a byproduct of the IT industry there in that side of the country, or what's the story?
No, not at all. I actually set up my own consultancy called Stateside Solutions when I moved back from the States in 2007. But I was quite jealous of what was going on in Galway. There was all this collaboration and all these people were connected, and I felt I was on the peripheral. And then I saw this job on Facebook. And I cold called it, and I said, I'd love to do this because I just want to be part of the story. And the guys were great. And it's just been a great fit because we can just leverage everything, and everyone's has the same agenda.
Oh, that's great. And it seems like what a great fit, what a great coup for the Porter Shed. Like, to take in someone who's so well networked into the States as well, it's just great. Hey, Grania, I want to pull you in here, actually, talk about the Ludgate for a bit. Obviously, we always hear about the Ludgate and the great things you're doing down there. And any more good news stories?
Yeah, so we started off to a big bang, really, back in 2015 with the 1 gigabyte town, and I suppose became a bit of a template for a lot of the rural towns, and I think the Programme for Government would have recognised the value there. And we're obviously seeing that movement towards rural hubs and connectivity with the BCP plan as well. And, now that we're evolving and we're part of the ITHN, we're obviously pleased to be there. But in terms of our contribution to the local economy, similar to Mary's story, in the Ludgate, we have space for 75 people, and pre-COVID, let's forget about COVID numbers, right? But let's look at the pre-COVID numbers. Space for 75 people, average users and corporates around, always full, close to the 70 number. And the knock-on impact then to the local or rural economy is very significant. In terms of the good news stories, well, we actually did expand our footprint in September of this year, and we now have, as well as our the old bakery that was converted, that allows for the co-shared space and the corporate space. We also have 8 dedicated offices. So we've kind of got a new arm to our campus, and we're going through the motions of planning permission for the refurbishment of the old secondary school where I would have gone, Mercy Heights. And I'm actually expecting breaking news on that this week from the planning office that will allow us pursue the refurbishment of that. And again, to Mary's point, Enterprise Ireland have been unbelievably supportive in that regard, and will enable us to do that refurbishment, and that will actually double our size in terms of footprint. So we're highly ambitious as to what our plans are, and very, very excited about the road ahead.
That is fantastic. Liam, you're always very enterprising down in Killorgan, it has to be said. We're staying in the car now, and we're driving from Skibbereen down to Killorgan, and we're on a wave of positivity. What's positive down your neck of the woods?
Yeah, no, and I love the geographical analogy of that's what the Ireland Take Up Network is all about. It's being local and going global, so it's fantastic. Look, the RDI Hub in Killorgan is a public-private partnership between Fexco as the private enterprise, Munster Technology University, newest university in Ireland, as our research partner, and then Kerry County Council from a local government perspective. And similar to what Mary and Grania said, we're funded through the Enterprise Ireland Regional Enterprise Development Fund as well, which we're incredibly thankful to. I suppose our history is, we don't have as big a history, as long a history as some of the others. We're only 12 months old, and what a 12 months it's been. We launched this time last year, and then went through COVID for 20 weeks where we weren't able to access the building, but thankfully we've been open again now since August. So I suppose when you think about the RDI Hub, Brian, similar enough to the others, it's about space. So right now we've room for 81 members, which we hope to grow to 135 in phase 2. We run programs for startups, for SMEs, for corporates, to help companies and individuals to go from ideation to invoice. The third one I'm particularly passionate about is the whole research and development collaboration between the Munster Technology University and the RDI Hub, where we listen to industry problems and then we work with academia to help solve those problems. So engage professors, postdocs, PhD students, which is what I did in the ADAPT Centre before I joined the RDI Hub. Our fourth pillar then is around events, community events, corporate events, bringing in the advisor and the mentor panel we have. And I suppose the final one is all about community. It's about building community within Killorgan, but then abroad, further afield as well, across Ireland and the world. And we've had some really nice events. I know you were asking the question earlier on, like we had a really good community event on Friday, which is our Founders Circle, over 90 founders listening to Joe Haslam, who a lot of people in this call know. I don't know, sometimes is he a Limerick man or a Cork man, but he's incredibly inspirational around scale-ups. And then we also, back in November, as with Kerry SciTech, launched the HBank Kerry Angel Network. So yeah, it's been an interesting year. We've had to move a lot of stuff online to the community, but fingers crossed now with the Ireland Take Up Network, and going forward, we'll be doing a lot more stuff in the building and accelerating on from there.
No, it's fantastic. We'll come back to you now later. I want to get to Frank Brennan now. Frank, when Republic of Work landed in Cork, it was like a rocket ship landed down in the South Mall, and we were all sucked into it. Now, to be honest, we've been engaging with the company that's located above you on the 4th floor a lot. Oversea, they've been a fantastic company, but I'd say they actually sniff the virus that's coming from the bottom 3 floors. There's a lot of positivity that goes through that office space you've got there, and you're always innovating. Any new developments of late to report, or anything happening?
Geez, where do we start? I suppose, give a backstory about Republic Work. Republic Work is going for the last 4 years. We're coming up to our 4th birthday in April of this year. I'm very lucky in the sense that I was part of the team from day one. I helped kind of grow and scale the business to what it is today. I remember coming in, and it's funny, Mary said there how she got the job through Facebook. I had a similar situation whereby I saw an ad on Facebook and I said, geez, I know this fella DC Callahan, I must get in contact with him. So I threw on the suit, not knowing what I was getting into. Rocked up to 12 South Mall and discovered an empty office space with grey carpets and white walls. And he had this vision and an image of what he wanted to portray and do and achieve over the course of 3 to 5 years. I said, this fella's off his head. So I initially signed up, dived in, got the tools out and got the space in order. And it's been an incredible 4 years. We've seen the bones of 250 members grow and scale their businesses through Republic of Work. We currently have 150 members. Imagine looking back 12 months ago and seeing we were nearly at 96% occupancy. I was 6 desks away from filling the space. I know we don't want to go on about COVID, but it had an impact on us. But, you know, to be fair, I suppose one of the biggest selling points here in Republic of Work is that community element. And that's why we're so proud to be involved in the Irish Tech Hub Network, in that you feel that you're collaborating, that you're involved with other hubs around the country. If you're to flash back to 4 years ago, I mean, there was only 2 or 3 other spaces in Cork. There was probably 10 or 11 spaces in Dublin, where there's now 300 and 400 around the country, where we're all learning from each other, from best practices on how we actually run hubs.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. And I think to complete the umbilical cord, we go up to Patrick Welsh up in Dogpatch Labs in Dublin. Patrick, we never actually crossed paths, but I think I was in Dogpatch Labs a few times. I snuck in the door a few times, and I think we need to have a meeting sometime. But again, it's a really good news story, and it's always good to actually maybe get to understand the latest news headlines from Dogpatch Labs.
So, is there somebody else coming in now there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, there is actually. Anyway, it doesn't matter if we can press the mute all button if need be, and but I think we're okay now. Anyway,
we're okay.
Patrick.
No worries. Well, yeah. So I mean, Dogpatch started actually 6 years ago this month in an empty furniture store. We opened our doors. So I started really having no idea what I was doing, in about 10 grand and a change of use from Dublin City Council from an empty furniture store. And then it kind of grew from there, and we went down to the vaults in the second year, these 80-year-old vaults that hadn't been used in a very long time, or 200-year-old vaults. And then we went up to the mezzanine floor. And so I suppose when we started kind of physically completing our build out, we started to think about the program piece and running accelerators, and corporates got interested, like Alltech and ESB, etc. But also along the way, we were really lucky to join this. Google came and they wanted to pick a hub many years ago to join this international network of startup hubs, this global network, about 50 startup hubs from across the world. And we benefited so much from interacting with the other hubs in Stockholm and San Francisco and Austin and Shanghai, and just those conversations, because, you know, it's kind of, there's only so many people building hubs in the world, and it's a kind of a new thing. And we'd always come back from these gatherings, these conferences, with just an accelerated knowledge of what to do next. And it was on return from one of those trips that the idea struck upon us to say, you know what, we should make sure that this knowledge doesn't, you know, just stay with us in Ireland. We almost feel like we have a duty to replicate what we've experienced on an international level, on a national level, right? And that was really the idea for launching this network. Now, it started with a conversation, you know, about probably a number of years ago, and started very organically, very slowly, just making sure hubs were ready and on board. And there was a gathering in Kerry that Fexco had co-hosted along with ourselves, and really the idea sort of grew from there. And so it's actually been operating informally for many years, and we just kind of formalized it and threw it out and put it on a website and all that kind of stuff.
Fantastic. No, that's fantastic. And look, you alluded to the whole area of internationalization. Like I suppose a lot of us in the Nimbus Research Centre, albeit on the heavy techie side of things, we do deal with startups all the time, but we have dipped our toes in international markets over the course of our careers. This is probably one thing that we've learned from today, is how important it is to have our tentacles well embedded into the international space. I'm going to ask each one of you, is that being done strong enough by the Irish state at the moment? Encouragement of young, vibrant and innovative companies to, let's say, explore and, let's say, expand their horizons beyond the 32 counties of Ireland. Maybe Patrick, you might just take that up.
Yeah, so if I understand the question correctly, is the government doing enough to encourage the interactivity across our ecosystem, is it?
Yeah, I would think so, because you're doing enough. I know we're getting well supported, so indirectly you might say, yeah, the government is actually doing okay, but maybe they could be doing a bit more. We often hear of the plane load of politicians from the local council heading over to Asia, and nothing comes of it. Should that plane be full of small startup companies?
Potentially. Look, what I would say is that there is a number of folks that we've had interacted with in governments who have been really great at encouraging this. So, Declan Hughes in the Department of Business is actually the one that pulled many of the hubs together back in 2017, I'm going to say, and a part of that FEXCO thing. So certainly we've felt that they've been helping, along the way. I think actually what we realized was with the Irish Tech Hub Network was we were like, should we go directly for grant funding and then become a network? And then we can start talking to each other. And what we realized was actually we didn't really need necessarily, government money or even a government-led approach towards networking. We said, actually, you know what? All of these hubs are driven by people in their communities. They're privately led. Let's just start organically and see what the hell this thing is first. And then we can decide how we want to go from there. So the first message I would say is, I think it's always important to just see what can be achieved at relatively low cost organically. And then sort of when you form something, then you can sort of maybe see how government can amplify that good behavior or fuel it. Look, there's always more that, all sides can be doing. I've always felt that there is the support and certainly there's more support now that we've actually taken the first step ourselves and shown the value of the information and the best practice that we're sharing. When they start to hear those stories, then they start to get, picking up the phone to you and saying, well, what else could we be doing to help? And I think that's the main message I would have to folks in the ecosystem, whatever you're doing, is see how you can take the first step yourself, and then maybe the government can lead you, follow your lead, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Rather than the other way around.
Yeah, that's great, Patrick. I want to talk to Mary there. Mary, you've got a pretty good understanding of the US market space. I remember I had my first cousin. He had a really seriously big job in Chicago many years ago, and I said to him, he's got a seriously strong Cockney London accent. And I remember asking him, I said, "How are you getting on in the States?" He says, "They love me over there because I tell them I'm Irish." And Mary, I'm just wondering, like, are we exploiting that enough? We got a new president in there now. The so-called dodgy years of Trumpism seems to be kind of subsided a little bit. And like, if I was to start up tomorrow and I went to you, Mary, about your advice on how do I actually get into this market space, what would you advise actually?
Yeah, so a couple of things. One thing, just going back on your government people going on planes to Asia or New York or wherever they go. Like, it's great. I don't like the value of being Irish abroad is huge. And when a minister or a Taoiseach or a Taoiseach is in a room in New York and the startups bring in their potential clients, like, they're elevated up, like, people take them serious, because I think we don't realize the access we have here, being a small country, to our politicians, and then the influence they have abroad. So we're really lucky in that regard. I mean, the amount of events in New York where clients are like, I can't believe you brought me to meet this person. So, and then for Irish startups abroad, being able to say I'm backed by the Irish government is huge value for getting clients and getting pilots and getting in the door. I do think we exploit it. I think we're really good at it. And I think the open door policy of our diaspora has been amazing, right? So no more than your friend or cousin in Chicago. And all of our contacts, people are just constantly saying, I just got off the phone this morning from Declan McFadden, a guy from Donegal, living in Galway, really experienced in Singapore. And he set up the call to say, I'm in Galway for the next 4 months, send your startups to me, I'm here to help. And that happens, like, and I was writing down all the places, Unilever, like, he's so much experience and he just wants to give, and that's continual, like 100%. We're actually running a series starting next week called Importing Insights, where we're speaking to successful diaspora around the world about, you know, what's going on in the world, and then saying, what can we do for you? Because I feel like we're constantly taking, so we want to try and give back a bit to the people around the globe. So you guys can tune into that.
Yeah, great. Great. Excellent stuff. And I want to ask again, Grania in the Ludgate there. Grania, you know, at the Ludgate, if there's one talent that I observe quietly, it's your ability to find talent under a stone down there in West Cork and incorporate it into the Ludgate, and especially talent that has access to international markets. Is that something that you kind of like look out for actively? Because one thing that I've noticed over the last 10 years from my own friends coming back from especially the Asia part of the world is that they kind of come in under the radar to set up companies in Ireland. And basically they're successful in fairness, but there's no one really talking to them. Enterprise Ireland, they're not really interested in talking to Enterprise Ireland. They come back, they're fairly wealthy. They can actually support their own business. They don't need the advice, but they are open to giving back to the community. Brian, is this something you're actively doing? Talking to maybe successful businesses that are coming back? Because I know West Cork is just a classic example of people that are actually coming back.
I suppose West Cork, right, when we first started off and we were looking at the startup model, we found over a period of time that we can't only concentrate on startups. We do have to concentrate on potential second site strategies. You know, we are in a high value location. So we have, you guys probably know of Excelco, Six West, they're all based with us here. They have second site with us. We have our own homegrown businesses as well, like Spearline. We talked about the level of talent that's here. There was a book written last year about the rowing club, right? And let's not forget we're rowers, you know, we're Olympian champions as well. And the book, the title of the book was There's Something in the Water. And certainly, I think when it comes to West Cork, there is definitely something in the water. And you talked about rocks and hidden under rocks. We saw the BT Scientist of the Year award coming from Bannon Grammar recently. There was a kid from out in Castletown Bear who also got an award, obviously up in Canturk. So, you know, I won't keep the talent to West Cork. I'll allow it go beyond. We're not too territorial there. I don't think West Cork is unique in that, lads. I think our level of education and nurturing that we're doing from a very early stage with the likes of the Young Scientists of the Year and things like that, it's the talent, we're nurturing it along. And I think this new generation emerging, I think will benefit from that. Yeah, COVID is a dirty word at the moment, but the fact that it's moved everybody into the digital world and now it's business critical. It's no longer a nice to have, that digital literacy. And in terms of inclusiveness, it includes everybody, right? Because some of the functions like Zoom, and we can all work Zoom.
Yeah,
some of the other stuff from a few years ago is now out of date and redundant because the user experience is weak. And I think that allows a level playing field. Okay, we'll talk about the digital divide another time, but assuming the connectivity is there, assuming the devices are rolled out, that digital divide can really, or that digital platform can enable everybody no matter where they are. And I think, you know, I do have to mention the Ludgate board, which is one of our key success factors, the likes of Sean O'Driscoll, John Field, Anne O'Leary, Dee Forbes, David Putnam. They're a very active board. Mary mentioned her board is very active as well. I know Frank's board is very active. I'm sure all of us in the ITHM will say that. That is invaluable to us. I can pick up Sean O'Driscoll any day. I can pick up the phone to him any day of the week. And O'Leary, same gig, right? These people are very busy and they make time, and they're making time because they know of the ROI that it will bring to Ireland, but also to local communities.
Yeah, that's really good. And I suppose they play the game at a very high level, and that just translates down onto the Ludgate. You talked about nourishing small business, and again, I'll talk to Liam. Liam, you know, it didn't take you long before you mentioned Fesco there, Fexco in Killorgan. Probably have nurtured an awful lot of business over the years. We have the MTU now, the let's say the amalgamation of IT Tralee and CIT. All these things are good news stories. How are you tapping into all that?
Yeah, no, and like I suppose as part of the public-private partnership that we're in within the RDI Hub, we're lucky to have both Fexco and Munster Technology University as some of our key partners, along with Kerry County Council. And I suppose it's one thing that I'm very passionate about is this whole connection between industry and academia and bringing that forward. And I was just even thinking about it earlier today. I remember about 15 years ago when I worked in Microsoft. I was on a working group with IBIC and AmCham, where I was the Microsoft representative, which is all about industry and academia collaboration. And it was very frustrating because you could see either side didn't trust each other. There was all these issues around IP and stuff like that. And how can we make it happen? And now we see the impact that, you know, industry and academia working closely together has, and how they build that out and things like that. And I think FEXCO is a good example, working very closely with the Multi Technology University and the RDI Hub, you know, working very closely with UCC on the FinTech Next program, and, you know, developing out, you know, impactful technology that's not just shelfware, that's actually going into some of their products and services, and it's being released out and stuff like that. And I think, you know, bodies like Technology Transfer Ireland have done a really good job in facilitating that transaction between companies like FEXCO and MTU, and that's really, really helped. I suppose we see the RDI Hub as being that kind of facilitator as well. We have a research lab which can take up to 10 researchers, and the whole model we were hoping to develop would be that researchers could be in residence, you know, working with some of our member companies like FEXCO, Taximo, Libar, whoever else, and develop industry products and develop prototypes and stuff like that. We ran a very successful AI summer school virtually last October. And I think that showed to me the appetite that was there. You know, we had a couple of hundred people turned up to listen to some professors talking about AI for sustainability. And I hope some new projects will come out of that. So definitely we see the RDI Hub as the kind of glue that will bring industry and academia closer together. And I suppose I'll leave you with one kind of key thing for me, was that the R&D spend by government last year was 869 million in 2020, which is massive. And, you know, the government want to see a return on investment on that. And I think hubs like we have around the country now as part of the Ireland Tech Hub network can really help make sure that there's a good impact for that government spend.
Yeah, that's great. Things have definitely improved, no doubt about it. Frank, I need to ask you this question. I know just a moment ago, Grania was just talking about how fantastic West Cork was, and they're keeping it all to themselves down there. But I'm actually talking to you guys from Ballycotton today. And Jesus, I think I have 120 megs download speed. I'm on the Air Fiber. It's way better than Cork City at the moment. So, Frank, is this going to be a problem or an opportunity for the network, in that we have fantastic fibre facilities being rolled out to, let's say, so-called rural parts of Ireland, and you know, we're all using Zoom, as everyone said. We've access to markets from our bedrooms now. How do you this talk is about a new era of entrepreneurship. How do you see, let's say, the role of this particular network then, if we have, let's say, people who are now substituting the airport for a decent fibre connection?
I could probably tell you who installed that connection for you. He's actually a partner here in Republic of Cork. We actually see it as a huge opportunity. I suppose, look, we now know that we don't have to explain, number one, what a co-working space or an innovation hub is. We don't actually have to mention a single thing about what remote working is. We had trouble explaining what that was for the last couple of years. But no, there's a huge opportunity in it. I mean, look, there's people now that are working remotely, they're working from home, but we're all human at the end of the day. We're all people's people. We all like connecting with people. And I know, look, we're having this conference today, and it's a huge success. It's, I think, the 4th year in a row. But at the same time, I'm pretty sure, if you put the hands up around the room, would we like that personal connection? Would we like to be sitting in the out in Nimbus or out in CIT or wherever the case may be? So I think, look, there is definitely opportunity there, and with the connections of the hub, the Irish Tech Hub network, there's a couple of things there. Look, you're mad to get up to Galway. I'm sure Mary can put you up there out in Spiddle and likewise down in Skibbereen. For one, there's going to be holiday homes all over the country for us, but more importantly, the connection between all of us is invaluable. Now we have locations darted around all of the country, where we can connect and collaborate. And again, to reiterate my point from the beginning, was, look, when we first started, and to Paddy's point, we opened up and we didn't know what we're doing. Whereas now we're operators, we know exactly what people are looking for. Let it be the 2 or 3 days of space where people want to come and connect and interact with other companies, or even the full-time space, you know. So there's a tremendous opportunity here.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful. Yeah, it's wonderful. I'm just wondering, from your perspective, is there any part of the country that's not being looked after by the network at the moment? Now, I'm originally from North Kilkenny, right? And I sometimes look down towards Wexford and parts of Waterford, Carlow, that Laois area. And I'm just thinking, like, gee, some parts of these counties have been so left behind. So maybe it's a question for Patrick up in Dublin, actually. Patrick, I know you have your hands full with the cosmopolitan collection of companies you have to deal with, but did you ever take a look outside the pale and see if there's any deficiencies across the country?
Yeah, I mean, look, the first thing I would say is, well, first of all, it's not me making the decisions. It's a network thing. But there's a very, look, we have a very inclusive mindset, and the first thing I would say is, we had to start somewhere. But the idea is that we will grow the network, and as new hubs grow to a certain point in their life cycle. Because I tell you, to be honest, even as we discovered the network, and we started talking about this 4 years ago, many of the members themselves were like, Paddy, we're so busy just, getting going here. We don't actually have the capacity, the bandwidth or otherwise to actually engage in a network. That's why actually we delayed even in launching it a little bit and just kept it informal. So what we always try and figure out is where are folks in their life cycle as a hub? What are their core drivers, etc. But absolutely the idea is to grow the network, as other hubs come online. And I think what you'll find with all of the hubs is there is very much a sort of an open door policy, even if there is a hub who's really early in their journey. And I often talk to a lot of folks from around the country who say, Paddy, could I just come up for a day just to see the place? Or obviously not right now with COVID, but
sure.
And just so I can get a sense of how we might construct this in our local community. And we've had hubs from all across the country visit, and I know the rest of the network have as well. This idea of how do we help hubs right now? How do we help anyone? But certainly, if the Irish Tech Hub network had the exact same number of members, 3 years from now, then we'd be doing something wrong. That'd be my attitude. And so we had to start somewhere. And then we need to kind of figure out, well, who's ready in their life cycle, who's kind of sharing the ambition of what they want to achieve, and go from there. So what I would say to folks is, look, our sort of virtual door is always open. You can always email info@irishtechhubs.com. There is a committee, a group of people who think about these things, and we're going to be becoming a little bit more formal. It's not like it's kind of a rolling thing. It's not like we have a kind of a defined piece. You kind of just got to wait for the thing to organically grow. Yes. But that'll be my main message is we want to build up this entire ecosystem. We want to see every part of this country have innovation hubs and be connected. And also there is also the theory of the hub and spoke, which I should finish on as well, which is, certain smaller hubs actually have said, look, actually it makes more sense for us to connect into, the RDI hub, like, as a first step. Yeah. Kind of like a hub and spoke, and just sort of, be kind of tic-tac in that way too. So there's different ways of engaging is what I would say. And it's sort of very inclusive mindset. And we're hoping that we've more folks that join over the coming years.
It's wonderful. It's a really good news story. And I suppose from a Nimbus gateway point of view, we would love an opportunity to come talk to each one of you and maybe your clientele. Essentially, from our perspective, we've got a remit for Enterprise Ireland we want to achieve, but also with the funding model in research right across the globe, you could say there is a need now for, let's say, industry to step up to the mark and lead those academic projects. And that's actually something not for the faint-hearted. Mary, like you've got a multitude of third level institutes on your doorstep there. Is this something that has popped up at all? Are any of your residential companies involved with academia in any way or research in any way?
Yeah, absolutely. So we engage with Anyway Galway and GMIT all the time. And the companies have from on the research side, and then our corporates have engaged on the sandbox side. So for fintech and so on to trial things. So that's worked. And then they definitely, we regularly reach out to the university about gaps. So working with BioXL up in Anyway Galway, and then kind of matching whether it's some kind of pharma technology that they're working on, and then trying to match them up to the medtech side, and then the business side here, where like Plan Domino, for example, have a lab software to ensure it's all running smoothly, and all the supports from the colleges. So we work across the board with them all the time, from the TTO side, and then also in GMIT across divisions, 100%.
Yeah, fantastic. I just want to ask.
Just mention, FYI, just in the context of that discussion for the Munster region, like Frank and I would have engaged with the Cork Hubs meeting last Friday, where Rubicon was represented. I know Paul Healy, I think, is in this call. The guys from Ignite were in it from UCC, and that was all about encouraging, startups or entrepreneurs that have an idea in Munster Technology University through Rubicon or Ignite through UCC to engage with Frank and the Republic of Work or the RDI Hub in Kerry or whoever in the Munster region. We're not precious about it, to just bring their ideas forward and stuff like that, So yes. I think that's already kind of, it happened last Friday morning. I know Grania was in the call as well from Ludgate. So we're already reaching out to UCC and to Munster Technology University, and we'll do likewise into University of Limerick and LIT and others in the next while, because we've 6 counties in Munster, and Frank and I have a plan to engage with all 6, and we have very clear communications with the universities in there.
Yeah, well, I must say, again, Nimbus probably crosses paths with about maybe over 100 companies every year. And I'd say the majority of them are in Ireland, actually. But we do have an interest to liaise with some international companies that are interested in setting up in Ireland. And obviously for us, it's very easy for us to pick someone they can talk to and make things happen. But it seems that the network here is pivotally positioned to actually take on that cohort and that business. Have any of you actually had that occurrence where people from abroad want to set up in your locality and they've gone to you to facilitate that? And maybe I think possibly Grania might be a natural actual person to talk to about that point.
So actually very recently, as recent as last week, a situation like that arose, and maybe over the coming weeks we'll kind of see that kick into action, whereby it's a small company, it's a startup, essentially 10 to 15 people, and there's the possibility that they want to establish a footprint down here in Ludgate, the idea being that we would help them identify the talent and bring them on board. We obviously offer mentoring and coaching, and when you're a small company you can often feel isolated, but I think by being part of a hub, automatically you're part of a much bigger team immediately. And the coaching that we can offer, as I say, the mentoring, whether it's our board or through this ITHN, obviously all those boards and all those mentors there's a multiplier effect by being part of the network. It's available to everybody. So I think each of the hubs can probably have their own examples of that, and I know Mary has lots up in Galway as well. We want to be in a position. Look, I don't want to use the Tinder analogy, but I keep being brought back to it. We're a matching tool, right? We have the resources. Yes. We have the facilities. We want to be able to help those companies to grow and expand, and we're biting at the bit to be able to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's fantastic, and I think after this conference, this particular session has certainly, for want of a better analogy, killed about 5 stones with the one, or 5 birds with the one stone, 5 stones with the one bird, maybe, and so it's actually great to meet every one of you. I think we'll probably wrap the session up there, unless any of you have any burning item to actually bring to the table. But today was a bit successful. Nimbus, has to be said. This conference, which started 4 years ago, was just a kind of a little innocent affair, and now has turned out to be some form of a strategic industry business network conference that we have in January, the third Monday of January, when no one else has a conference. And we probably see we're stuck with it now, and we're going to see it grow actually over the next, and maybe next year it would be fantastic to have a network specific stream, let's say organized by yourselves and more actively involving yourselves and some of your cohort companies. It would be most welcome. So that's it. I'd like to thank all of you for your contributions, Mary, Frank, Liam, Grania, and Patrick. It was much appreciated. It was a very short session today. We're going to get the snapshot really, but for any of the attendees will appreciate that, cheekers, there is a network out there. There is hope out there. Some of us don't know these things actually exist. So thanks very much for your time. And again, thanks to the attendees for attending, and thanks to Robert for keeping everything tip top in the background. And I think we'll call it a day. And thank you very much, everybody.
Brian, Slán, everyone.
Thanks, Brian.
Take care.
Thanks a
Thanks,
million.
Slán.
Cheers.
Nice to be here.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.